Welcome to another exciting tutorial. Today we are going to create an animation like this using FlipFluids add-on and Blender. Let's jump to Blender and select the default cube and scale it up 10 times by pressing S and 10. While this cube is selected, go to Physics Properties and apply FlipFluid add-on and change the type to Domain. Go to the outliner and double click the name and change the name to Cube-Domain. Now go to Add Menu and add Mesh Monkey. Scale it up 7 times by pressing S and 7. This mesh has a problem. It's not a closed mesh. The eyes part of this mesh are not properly connected with the rest of the body. So first I'm going to fix this issue. I will go to edit mode, and while I'm in the vertex selection mode, I will select the middle vertex of the first eye, and then by pressing shift and click I will select the second vertex. You can see I have selected both the middle vertices of both the eyes. Now I will grow my selection to select all the parts of the eyes by pressing Ctrl and plus on the num keypad. I will press Ctrl plus several times. I have pressed Ctrl and plus several times. So now I can see that both of the eyes are selected. And now I want to delete these eyes because these are not connected properly with the rest of the mesh. So I will press X to delete and I will select faces. So now you can see the eyes have been deleted. I will recreate the eyes. To recreate the eyes, I will go and select the edge select mode, and I will select the outer edge loops of both the eyes. To do that, I will press Alt and click any edge of the edge loop, and by pressing Alt you can see all the edge loop has been selected. For the second eye, I will press Shift and Alt and then I will click. So you can see both edge loops have been selected. Now I will fill both of these empty holes with a face. So I will press F, which has filled both eyes with a face. To do a little bit more, I will press I and I will insert the faces. I will move these faces a little bit forward by pressing G and Y in the Y axis. So that's it. If you want to do a little bit more modifying, you can do it by yourself. If you feel hard to do this, you can download this file, this starter file from my Gumroad for free. I will post the link in the description area. So now we need 2 copies of this Suzanne. One will act as a container and one will act as a fluid. So I will select Suzanne and I will double click and change the name to Suzanne-container. I will duplicate this by pressing Shift D, and you can see I have another copy. I will rename it to Suzanne-fluid. I want to modify Suzanne-fluid a little bit. I will turn off Suzanne-container and I will reselect Suzanne-fluid and I will go to edit mode and I will select vertex select mode and I will select the top middle vertex and I will activate the proportional editing and I will select the move tool, and while I'm moving this down I will use my mouse wheel to enlarge this circle and I will move this a little bit down just like this. The reason I have done this to create some empty space, this will allow FlipFluids to produce more bubbles and more particles. If the size of container and fluid is exactly the same, sometimes it's not possible for FlipFluids to create bubbles. So let's go out to object mode. Also make Suzanne-container visible. Select Suzanne-container and go to modifier panel and add a modifier subdivision surface and change the level viewport and render view values both to 4. Do the same for Suzanne-fluid. Select Suzanne-fluid and add modifiers subdivision surfaces and change the values to 4 and 4, and then go to physics properties, and while Suzanne-fluid is selected, apply FlipFluids and change the type to fluid. The values will remain same. Now select Suzanne-container and apply FlipFluid and change the type to obstacle and activate inverse because it will hold the fluid and the remaining values will stay the same. Now I will create the fan, and for that I will use the BlenderKit add-on, which is a free add-on to get some free models and materials. If it's not activated in your Blender, you can go to edit menu and preferences, and in add on area you can search for BlenderKit and you can enable this. So I will go to BlenderKit and while model is selected I will search for fan and I would like to use this fan. So I will click it and it will be downloaded, and you can see here in the outliner it's been downloaded here. I will turn off Suzanne container and Suzanne-fluid so I can see the fan, but the fan is very small. I will select it here in the viewport and I will scale it up around 20 times S to 0. I can see this fan has some other parts as well, so if I expand it here in the outliner I can see it has blades, cable and cable shape, housing and plug, so I don't need the last 4 parts. So I will select cable, cable shape, housing and plug, and I will press X to delete them. And I just need fan dash blades. If I move my playhead, I can see it's moving because it already has some keyframes created by the creator of this fan. So I will go to the item tab, and you can see it's yellow in color because there are some keyframes applied. I don't want these keyframes, so I will right click and I will select clear keyframes. So first of all, I will rotate this fan in X direction, something like this, so X 90, and then I want to animate it from frame 1 to frame 200 around 4000 rotations. While my playhead is at 1, I will input Y axis as 0, and I will right click, insert keyframes. Then I will move my playhead to frame 200, and I will input 4000, and I will again create a keyframe by right clicking and insert keyframe. So if I move my playhead, I can see it's animating properly. I would like to end my animation at frame 500, so I will input 500. So it means my animation will be 500 frames long. Let me close the BlenderKit plugin. I will go to front view by pressing 1 on the num keypad. Let me activate the visibility for Suzanne-container and Suzanne-fluid. And I will activate the wireframe viewport shading. And I will select the fan. I will scale it up by pressing S. I will scale it up a little bit, something like this, and I want to place it in the middle of this eye, so I will press G and move it somewhere around here. I will create a duplicate of this fan by pressing Shift D, and I will move it somewhere here. To be exact same values, you can use opposite X properties. For example, this one, its X value is something like this. So you can copy it by pressing Ctrl C, and you can select the second fan and you can paste the same exact value here by pressing Ctrl V, but just you can remove the minus. So you can see both have the same X value on, and they are on the opposite sides equally and balanced, and give same exact values to Y and Z. So X have same opposite values, but Y and Z has exactly same values. I will press 3 on the num keypad to see the side view, and you can see in the side view the fans are far away from the eyes. So I will select both the fan blades, and by using move tool I will move them near the eye, something like this. I will go back to front view by pressing 1 on num keypad. One more thing I want to do is I want to give opposite direction rotation to both the fans. So this fan is moving in clockwise direction, but this fan I want to move in anti-clockwise direction. I will move my playhead to frame 200 because you can see I have created a keyframe here. So instead of having the value 4000, I will change this to minus 4000, and I will recreate this keyframe by right click, replace keyframe. If I move my playhead, you can see both fans are moving in opposite direction. So that's what I want. Now let's apply flip fluid to the fans. So select fan blade and rename it to fan blades -1, and the second fan blades -2. Select fan blades -1 and apply flip fluid to it. Change the type to obstacle and increase the friction from 0 to 1, and also activate export animated mesh because it's animating. Now select fan blades -2 and also apply flip fluid and obstacle. Change friction to 1 and activate export animated mesh. Also apply some modifiers. So go to modifier panel and apply solidify. Change offset to 0 and thickness to 0.005. Select the other fan and also apply solidify. Change offset to 0 and change thickness to 0.005. In this way, our fans will have little bit thicker body. And then select cube dash domain and go to physics properties and change some flip fluid settings. I will keep resolution at 65 for test baking. For my final baking, I can select around something like 300 or 400, but that's at the end. I will go to flip fluid white water and I will enable white water, and I will also enable dust. I will go to flip fluid display settings, and in white water display settings, under display setting mode, I will select forms bubble spray dust, and particle object settings mode form bubble spray dust. After the baking, if you feel your particles are a little bit bigger or smaller, you can change the particle size here later on. Now let me do a test baking around like 70 frames to see if it is generating fluid and particles or not. So I have stopped the baking around frame 70, and let me check if fluid has been generated. In the outliner, I can see this is the fluid surface and these are the particles, but let me check by moving the playhead, and I can see the particles are also generated properly, and this is the fluid surface. And let me turn off the Suzanne container and fluid, and I can check the beautiful fluid has been created. And if I hide the fluid, I can see the particles are also there. Perfect. Let me do some homekeeping for render settings. So make sure in the render properties, your render engine is cycles. Also select denoise in the sampling. You can keep samples as you like. I am just doing it for 16, but normally you can keep it at 128 or higher as you like. Then go to world properties, and you can actually use an HDRI lighting. That's best for showing fluid presentations, but I will just use sky texture, and I will go to ray visibility and I will hide it from the camera. I will go to front view by pressing 1, and I want this to be my camera view, so I will press a handy shortcut, Ctrl Alt 0 on the num keypad, so my camera is also looking at the same view. One last thing I need to do is I need to select cube dash domain, and I will go to physics properties. I forgot to apply the materials, so I will go to FlipFluids materials. For fluid surface, I will select FF water clear. For foam, you can select the foam particles material. For bubble, you can select the bubble material. For spray, you can select spray material, and for dust, you can also use bubble material. I don't want to render the container. I don't want to render the Suzanne fluid, because this is the fluid object, not the fluid itself. And I want to render all the flip meshes like flip surface, bubble, dust, foam, and spray. Let me adjust the camera a bit. And let me turn off this light because I don't need this light. Go to the render viewport shading and go to the world settings, and I will change the Nishita sky to the other type of sky, and change the strength to 2. And these settings are totally up to you. You can select HDRI lighting or whatever suits you. So if you don't want to follow me regarding these settings for the render settings, you can select any type of lighting. Even you can use blender lights, spotlights, or area lights, or whatever you want. Whatever works for your render. So let me render it. Render image. And I can see my particles are very small, very small. So maybe I can cancel the render and I can go back. I will select cube dash domain, and I will go back to physics properties, and in the flip fluid display settings, in wide water display settings, I can increase the particle size to 0.02, and I can copy and apply the same size to all the particles. And let me render it again, render image. So now you can see it's rendering bigger size particles. And let me select the fan blades and delete the material which comes with the fan, and let me render it again, render image. So that's the end of this tutorial. If you don't understand anything, you can ask me in the comments. I will definitely answer your questions, and see you in the next video.